Welcome, Saratoga. Today's a good day here in Saratoga. We have an interesting show today. We're going to focus on public safety. I've got a few things I want to talk about first. Let's start with the coronavirus. This is dominating most of the headlines these days, and there are 1.5 million cases in the United States, and in California there are over 80,000 cases. Almost 1,600 new cases a day. It's not ideal news, but California is starting to get a little better at this. Most of the new cases are south of San Luis Obispo County, Los Angeles, Riverside, Orange County. Santa Barbara is a local hotspot right now. Up here in the Bay Area, we have some pretty good news. Our growth rates for the virus are relatively low, and I don't want to say declining because it's hard to get a real good read on it. Here in our county, I got the numbers I wrote down. Yesterday we had 15 new cases, which is really good. The goal that we're shooting for was 14 or less new cases a day. 15 was right in the zone. Then of course today's data put us at 37 cases. Oh, here is the county dashboard. I was going to show it a little later, but here you go. This is the latest data for us. Our death rate has been 0 for the last couple days. It's averaging below 2. This is all super good data. If you look at some of the modeling websites, if you go to COVID Action Now website, it is data for every county in the United States for counties above 400,000. And I'm proud to report that Santa Clara County is one of the best counties in the entire United States. Doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. It means that we're doing our part. So I just want to remind everybody, we had 18 cases so far in Saratoga. That number grows by a couple a week. This is still in circulation in our community and the county at large. We are still under a pretty tight shelter-in-place order. You need to wash your hands, not touch your face after you've gone out. Wear a mask when in public. If you're in any stores or shops, you're required to wear a mask. That is to help reduce the spread of the virus. It is not an infinite shield. Don't think because you put on gloves and a mask that you're now immune. You need to follow all the same precautions. Stay away from people. 6 feet is the minimum. If you feel ill, don't go out. The big thing I did want to talk about is testing. Testing is a critical element. And here in the county of Santa Clara, we have the capacity to test 4,000 people a day. Unfortunately, we've had that for over a week now, and we've never gotten past 1,640 people in one day. So we're running less than 50% of testing capacity, and they want to be at full testing capacity. So they have updated the guidelines on who should get tested. There was a screen that I was hoping the staff could put up. There is the generic website at the county, and they have the dashboard that you just saw, but they have other important information, including information on testing. So the guidelines for testing still include those that are sick. If you have any of the symptoms, every medical facility will test you. But now they want to expand to this. They want to test persons who work in high-risk areas, such as skilled nursing facilities or long-term care facilities or jails or shelters. But they've also realized that there are a lot of essential service employees that have constant contact with the public. So think of your grocery store clerk. They're now on the official list. They should be able to get tested. Utility workers, people in the food supply chain, any other person who has frequent contact with members of the public. So here is, and then anybody over the age of 60 is supposed to get a test. So they've loosened up the criteria. There are not enough tests to test everybody. but there are more tests by a large factor than we're able to use. And they really, for data collection purposes, to really get a handle on where this is at in the Valley, they would really rather be really close to 4,000 tests a day than 1,600 tests a day. So again, if you have any symptoms, or you are a person who's over 60, or you're in contact with the public through the course of your essential job function, you do qualify to get tests. All tests are free. If you can't get one through your provider, you can go to that county website. I'll put that link up in a minute. Okay, they'll put up right now. If you go to this county website, there is the testing category in there. There is a way for you to get a test. Now, here's the subtlety. You can't just drive in and get a test. You got to get it authorized by a doctor. But there are ways to do this without a lot of hassle. So please go to the county website. And if you have any symptoms or you're in high contact with people or over 60, consider getting tested. We all saw on the news last night, the governor of New York got tested, and it looks awful, but it only took a couple seconds. And it's not as bad as some have made it out to be. So that's the sort of general news about what's going on. Let's talk about what's going on in the city. I'll be joined by our city manager, James Lindsay. Hey, James. So a couple things that are big deals for us. This month, May, is National Heritage Preservation Month. And had we not been under lockdown, there would have been a whole lot of outdoor activities and things to see. Visit the city website. You can see some of our historic resources within the city. But our city is rich in history. I mean, we have the Ohlone Indians for 10,000 years, and then we have sort of the modern history of the last 150 years. You would be amazed to know that Saratoga's first industries included logging and brothels. So that's the middle 1800s. So this would be the point where I would plug our history museum, which we're very fortunate as a small city to have. And we are hopeful that as the virus mitigates, we will get a chance to open the History Museum back up. We have a council meeting this week, which is very important. Many have heard about the annexation of the Mountain Winery. And for the first time in 9 months, the council is going to be able to have a public meeting. And so this will be the public's first time to actually hear what your council members are thinking about the project and how we've processed all of the feedback that we've received from the citizens, the environmental impact report, and 2 planning commissions. I know we would have heard this a long time ago. We would have done it in February, but we added an extra planning commission meeting because of public interest, and the coronavirus has further delayed us. So anyway, Wednesday, 7 o'clock, you can find information on the city website about that. Let me go to James. James, Saratoga is, I want to start with the good stuff. All of our parks are fully open now. Well, not quite fully. What's going on in our parks?
Yeah, our parks continue to be used during this time, which is very encouraging. Trails are open, restrooms are open. Please, we encourage everyone to get out, use the fields with your family. The only thing that we've not been able to open yet is the playgrounds. Everything else, though, is available for use there in the parks.
As family members, right? Group activities, group sports, team sports, those are not allowed right now.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know it's messed up baseball season for everybody this year, but it's necessary for health reasons. So, James, in terms of other essential city services, if I want to build a house, can I do that?
Oh, yes, please do. We're encouraging folks to reach out, talk to our staff here, building staff, planning staff, about any of the ideas you have in remodeling your house, building a new house. We are open for business, doing all of our permits, all of our inspections, and recently the Planning Commission just approved some new projects. So we're really excited to keep these projects moving forward for everyone.
Okay. City Hall's not open the way it used to be. We do most of our communication now via email. And if you need a face-to-face meeting, then you have to make an appointment?
That's correct.
Okay, so don't just come to City Hall. Go to the city website, and there's a list of resources for the building department that will get us there. James, what about trees? We have dead trees. We can do tree permits this way too?
Absolutely, yeah. Our arborists are out there working. When we have applications come in for tree removal permits or the virtual permit for removing a dead tree, which is very simple at no cost to our residents, that is continues to be available for folks to take advantage of.
Okay. And then our summer camps and recreation programs, because those would be close contact, those remain closed.
I think at this point in time, we are looking forward to the summer. So
Okay.
that will be an announcement we would hope to make in the coming weeks on what the summer looks like for the city and for Los Gatos Saratoga Recreation. So I'm not prepared at this point to say that there will not be any camps.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, speaking of announcements, today at 1:30, everybody's following along. Several of the surrounding counties have loosened up their criteria for shelter in place, and our county is going to have an important health update at 1:30 today. Again, our county has done, I think, an exceptional job in not spreading the virus, limiting the transmission. And I am expecting some slightly positive and welcome news at today's meeting. If we have the slide on local resources, let me talk about some local resources. Our staff behind the scenes is having to figure out which slides because I went out of order. I want to remind everybody that if there is a senior that needs assistance, if they need groceries, if they need a ride to the doctor, if they need social services, tax help, financial help, please contact our Senior Association, Saratoga Area Senior Coordinating Council, SASE for short. They have a new phone number, so you can call in if you're not web savvy. If you have friends that are seniors that are in need, put them in touch with SASE. We've had them on our show. We've talked a lot about West Valley Community Services. They're a regional agency that is sort of the front line of providing services to the needy within the area. They're located in Cupertino, but they do their mobile food pantry at West Valley College on Wednesday, but they provide services throughout the whole west side. So they help coordinate food and groceries for people in need, rental assistance, and other resources. So if you know anybody who's in need that's not necessarily a senior, West Valley Community Services is an excellent organization. And then lastly, many of our local businesses are open in a limited capacity. Think of all the fine restaurants in our city. Many of them are doing delivery or through DoorDash. Some of them are doing curbside pickup. And the best clearinghouse to know which businesses are open, and in some cases what specials are going on, is the Saratoga Chamber of Commerce. Their website is listed here. They have gone above and beyond the call of duty. They are listing all businesses that they can find in the city that are open, whether they're chamber members or not. So this is all about Saratoga being stronger together, and they are doing their part to make sure that we know where businesses are. Okay, the last thing I wanted to mention briefly before we start with the sheriff is scams. When we talk about what's going on within the environment right now, the criminal element always exists within society, and right now people are thinking, oh, I need to be getting a stimulus check, or I need to find out, what to do with my mortgage, or did the tax deadlines get extended? Anyway, there are crooks who are taking advantage of that, and if we could put up the slide for our county sheriff's office. Let me find that slide. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on in the law enforcement area. And I put this up to start. You know, this is our sheriff's office website. And I want to just remind people to be very mindful of what's going on in their neighborhood and be very, very mindful of scams. Apple is not going to call you telling you your computer has a virus. The IRS is not going to call you and tell you you have 1 day to pay. All of these organizations, if they need to get in touch with you, they'll be using first-class mail. But anyway, the guy who knows and the guy who has some advice is our sheriff. So we have with us today Rich Urena. And if we could get back to camera. Hey, Rich, how's it going?
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you doing, sir?
Good. So our citizens want to know what's going on in the law enforcement areas, particularly with the virus. But before we start, I got to ask, are your deputies and their families doing okay in this shelter-in-place time?
They are. I'm happy to state that all our employees are healthy. Nobody here has gotten sick. We've put in a lot of measures so that we practice our social distancing here and to make sure that if in fact somebody gets exposed, it's mitigated. So everyone's doing well. Thank you.
Okay, good. So just on behalf of the citizens, we love our sheriff and we appreciate all that you guys do and the risk that they are under right now, an extra risk. To help you guys out, I am imagining that if I need sheriff services, I should let the 911 operator know if I'm actually sick.
Yes, so at the beginning of the shelter in place order, we did work with our county communications so that certain questions would be asked of our residents. Again, we understand that medical information is protected under the HIPAA laws, and so we have to be careful with that. And certainly, we've worked out, logistically worked out a way that we can relay that information to our deputies, and that certainly has helped. Unfortunately, we have been to a few homes in our region where the residents were confirmed to have COVID-19. So we wanted to make sure that we put all our PPE gear on, and certainly that's helped us.
You guys respond whether we're sick or not, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Our operations has not been affected at all.
Okay.
We continue to be strong and unaffected. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure everybody wants to hear about crime statistics or something, but let's talk about something that's closer to home. Tell us how you guys are responding to the whole shelter-in-place order.
Yes. So first of all, I want to thank all the residents of the city of Saratoga. The support that we've received from the residents is overwhelming. We've had residents stop by, drop off face coverings, drop off face masks, sanitizer, gloves, even lunch a couple of times, believe it or not. And so our staff are extremely happy to be working in this community. And also, just as important is the reminders that we have to work with our residents. We have had over 100 calls related to the shelter-in-place order. And so our strategy from the beginning has been, let's remind our residents that we all need to do our part, that we all need to stay home unless we don't have a choice, and that's outlined in the essential activities and businesses that the order discusses. But every time we've gone out to a call related to a shelter in place, we've talked to a resident, they've understood, and then they've changed their behavior. And I'm proud to say that we've only cited 2 people in the city of Saratoga related to the shelter in place, and both were related to a crime. So I think most people would agree that if you're out committing a crime, you're probably not practicing social distancing, and you're probably in violation of the shelter in place. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, I didn't notice commission of a crime is an essential business.
Yes.
So, our city has this philosophy. We're pretty self-sufficient and we don't want to bother you guys. And so I worry that we're not reporting all the crimes we see in a timely fashion. Um, I'm more worried about, if somebody's accidentally, out walking without a face mask. I may worry a little less about that. I worry more about neighborhoods being cased and cars being broken in. Are we seeing a change in the crime dynamics in our city right now?
Yes, overall, it looks like crime is down. Um, but I will say, though, that the city of Saratoga is one of the safest communities in the state. And so, what does it mean to have a decrease in crime, right? So it's just a couple of numbers lower than we normally would see. But to your point, sir, if our residents get anything out of this presentation is please, please call 911 anytime you see anyone out there that's suspicious or that you see something that you want us to address. That is the way that we're going to slow crime and really stop it, is if our residents call 911. And I will leave you with this. In the time that we've had this shelter in place to now, we've seen a 681 calls for service less from the same time period last year. So a little less than 700. What that means is that we're available should you need us. So please call 911. We want to be there as quickly as possible to address anything that you think the resident feels that we need to look at.
I know people worry about calling 911 because when we grew up as kids, this was only for emergencies. My understanding of the 911 procedure now is if you want to be polite to them, you say it's a non-emergency call, but they'll sort out in the first couple seconds whether you qualify as emergency or not. And if you're not emergency, they may have to put you on hold for an emergency call, but they still take your call, right?
Absolutely. So I think you would agree that 911 is an easier number to remember than our non-emergency, but I will give out the non-emergency as well. It's 408-299-2311. When we encounter something unusual, something traumatic, something out of the ordinary, our brain seems to, forget some of the fine things that we remember. And so 911 is something I think no matter what circumstance you're in, you'll remember. And so we encourage our residents to dial 911. And like you said, sir, if it's not an emergency, the dispatcher will certainly let the resident know, please hold. This is not an emergency. We'll get back to you. And then they flip-flop.
Yeah, unless they're not busy and they just take your call.
Exactly.
So we have a very responsive 911 system here in the Bay Area and an even more responsive sheriff's office. So I kind of touched briefly on cyber crimes because I've seen some of that stuff going on. Do you have any advice on cyber crime for people?
Yes, so a couple of things. One is what we know is that cyber criminals want to get our information, want to get our personal information. And so how do they do that? And that's really the question. How do criminals get our personal information? Well, unfortunately, a lot of our information is out online, right? I think most residents have heard of the dark web. I can tell you that I've had the privilege to look into the dark web. There's a lot of information in there. And that's one way that people get information. Another way is through our mail. And what that is people driving around, either they're following the postal vehicle or soon after the mail's dropped off. People are stealing our mail and getting our personal information. And so what they do with that information is they access online credit cards, they open accounts, and then they start to harvest our finances. And so one of the things we want to make sure we relate to our residents is please make sure that you pick up your mail so that people don't steal it. We have seen a small increase in vehicles out there that appear to be stealing mail. We did arrest a couple of people here the last couple of weeks with mail. But also when you're online, going to websites, you got to pay attention to the URL. You got to make sure that the site you're visiting is in fact a legitimate site. We have seen sites, I don't know, I'll throw a bank out there, one of the bigger banks, Bank of America, right? bankofamerica.com. We have seen sites where it says bankofamerica.co.com. right? And so that's different. And
Right.
so we ask our residents is to make sure that when you're online, clicking on things, that it is in fact the site that you want to be on. Because as soon as you divert from that site, a legitimate site, you go into this fake site, people are gathering your information. And so we certainly want to be careful with that. And again, I encourage our residents to please call us anytime you feel that you may have perhaps given people information that you shouldn't have. And we do get those types of calls frequently. We're more than happy to pay you a visit, see what you did, and then give you some recommendations in terms of how to mitigate potential exposure.
Yeah. Yeah, my rule of thumb is I never click on the link they give me in the email. If I get an email from my bank or Bank of America, I go to the web browser and I type in my own Bank of America and I start from what I think is their website. I never click on the emails. Makes me.
Yeah, and if I can add something with robocalls, right? When we all get these calls, I
Oh,
get them on my personal phone, my work phone, these robocalls. If in fact you get a call and for whatever reason you decide to answer it, and you're engaged in this conversation with someone about, I don't know, something that probably seems too good to be true, please write down that phone number that you see on your screen. Let them know you will call them back, hang up the phone, and it's something as simple as just Google the number. If you Google the number, you will see that a lot of people have actually posted information related to that phone number, saying the phone number is related to some type of scam. And so something as simple as just typing in the phone number into the browser on Google will get you a lot of information about that phone number. And again, you could always call us as well and we'll help you through that.
right. Seems like, with everybody at home and hardware stores are open as essential businesses, maybe we should recommend locking mailboxes as your home improvement project for the summer. Um, Maybe we could try and work something up in the city to get a little more information out. Having your mail stolen is a real problem.
It certainly is. And what we know is that crooks are lazy. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Crooks are lazy and they're looking at the easiest way that they can make money or steal something, right? And so if the crooks are looking at mailboxes, they're going to target the ones that don't have a locking mechanism because they want to get in and get out. Not to say we haven't caught people with bolt cutters or like a hammer or some way to get into the mailbox, but that's not common. We don't catch criminals with sophisticated equipment. Typically, we'll catch somebody for something else. Maybe they're speeding, and then they have a bunch of mail in their back seat. And so when we start to look at why some of our residents were targeted, it's because those mailboxes are not locked and they're easily accessible by the crooks just by driving by and grabbing the mail.
Yeah, okay. Something we can all work on. There's a home improvement project for everybody. Rich, you mentioned speeding. There's so little traffic on the roads these days. I'm actually getting a lot of reports of people speeding in neighborhoods. You guys are actively enforcing all the traffic laws, right?
We are, and we have received some reports of speeders in the city. And so last week, we implemented what we call a speed enforcement plan. And what our residents are going to see is, let's just say, a bunch of officers in certain parts of the city monitoring speed. We know that there are more people walking, there are more people bicycling, and there are more people out and about. And so we haven't seen speed be a significant issue, but we're checking that. And so what we're doing, and I'll give you the latest. Last week we were on Saratoga between Lawrence and 85, and we had about 7 officers or so monitoring traffic. And in the 2-hour span of time, we issued 2 speeding tickets, one for 57 miles per hour, one for 56. The speed limit there's 40, so cars are going a little bit fast.
Yeah.
But two speeding tickets in a 2-hour period,
It's not too much.
Not too much. But we certainly want to remind our residents to please slow down.
Yeah, you hit on it and I'll reinforce it. A lot of us are so cooped up. Being able to go out and do that walk is such an important thing. And as we know, being a semi-rural community, we have very few sidewalks, right? There are a lot of people in the streets walking or with their kids and bikes. And, there's less traffic on the roads. We're going to get to where we're going faster than we were in January. So just slow down a little bit, be super cautious. There's a lot of people out, especially as the weather's turned good.
Absolutely.
Rich, anything else that people should know about? Maybe something with respect to a car or property crime?
Well, as we continue to monitor how crime is affected with COVID-19, this is a good opportunity for us to really look at our property, to look at our home, to look at our vehicle, to look at things that are valuable to us, to make sure we document what they look like. And what I mean by that is take a photo of items that you feel are valuable so that you have a picture of those items should they go missing. But also take a look around your house. Are your windows in good working order? Do you have brush that perhaps is blocking windows that would make it easy for a criminal to try to break in? Take a minute, walk around your house, see how you can improve the safety of that structure. And the same thing with our vehicles. We want to make sure that we don't leave valuables in the car. I think most residents know about that incident in San Jose where a gentleman had a bag, sitting in the back seat, and unbeknownst to the criminal, inside the bag were snakes. And so this criminal ended up stealing the bag, thinking they're valuables, and there were snakes inside.
Yeah.
And what we know is that the crooks will take something from a car if they feel that there's some value to it. So don't leave any valuables in the car. Don't make it appear that there are any valuables in the car. And certainly take the time to look around your property and secure it a little bit better so that we can, again, continue to see these low numbers of crime in the city throughout the year.
Yeah, okay. Well, if we're all at home, I think let's use the opportunity to make our properties safer. Let's use best practices and not leave valuables in sight of would-be criminals. And I'm really thinking we should have a mailbox awareness month or something. It feels like if we're all going to be home, let's all get out and put in some locking mailboxes. That would help us all. So, Rich, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with today?
I just want to say thanks to all the residents again. The support we have received from the city of Saratoga, the residents, yourself, is overwhelming. We are very lucky to be working here, to get so much support. Like I mentioned before, we had a few lunches dropped off from our residents. We really appreciate that. There's no need to do that, by the way, but we understand that some of our residents want to give back, and we certainly appreciate that.
Okay, Rich, on behalf of the city, we appreciate that all that you and your deputies and officers and clerical staff are doing to keep our city safe and secure. We love our sheriff, and so thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Okay, so that wraps up what we've got for today. We have I think on the outgoing side, I think we have the city resources slide again, if we've got that. And we will be back again on Wednesday. Check out the city website. We have a bunch of information to help you with City Hall, some stuff for COVID. Here are our local agencies that are helping us, SASE with their new phone number, West Valley Community Services, and please frequent our local businesses, and the Chamber keeps an up-to-date list. So that's the show for today. We will see everybody on Wednesday, or if you're watching on KSAR, this show will be rebroadcast on Tuesday. Thanks for being with us.